Hey, you on?
Hey there, give me a second.
Okay. Whew.
This thing is being difficult.
Uh, Tell me. Technical difficulties I've been calling the past 24 hours.
Hang on, sorry, I gotta chase the children out of here.
No, the reason I wanted to put you on because what's going on um, over elections, that's why. It's a big thing right now. It's a big topic that I'm using on my interviews. Yeah. And since you're in SAC, that's why. That's
Sure.
why. Yeah, it's a big issue topic. I just spoke to the former mayor of El Centro, and you were talking about it, and he goes, "I remember when you were home. We were discussing that." He's like, "Yeah, dude, you took care of me, former mayor." So yeah, and he's running for re-election. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so he's like, "Hey, dude, I need an interview." So yeah, let me just get my side. Okay, we're set on my side. Hopefully, people could hear us because I gotta. I've been having problems with Zoom device on my system here, and I'm trying to see if it works good. Can you say something? Test, test.
Testing, testing.
Oh, yeah. Dang. Nah, I'm just gonna keep it like this. I'm just. They're not gonna listen to us, but it's still fine. It just. Oh, there it is. Now I hear it. Oh, cool, 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 cool. So okay, no. It just these system softwares that I use for media is just not acting with Zoom, and it says Zoom on there. It's like, why ain't Zoom ain't audio ain't connecting, but it's connected to my laptop. It's fine, but it's just these systems don't interact with one system. Well, anyways, I'm gonna start this now because this is now being recorded on Zoom as I speak, and whatever the. Uh, see what they say. Here we go. We're live. Hey, you guys! If you guys could hear me, I am live with um, one of my colleagues up in Sacramento regarding homeless. So if you guys could hear me or not hear me, let me know. I'm having technical difficulties. I'm working two different systems. And spill the beans, um, Crystal.
So we have a lot going on here in Sacramento. It, it's been nonstop. I actually just returned home from a protest where they're getting ready to evict almost 500 people in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a heat wave here in Sacramento, in the middle of smoke, as well as in the middle of a court order saying that they cannot. So that's where I just got home from, and this has been going on.
I saw that you put there were sweeps. So what's all these sweeps crap going on in that side of town? Because we don't have sweeps down here.
Okay, so what sweeps are is basically actually Sacramento. What makes Sacramento important is that our mayor here in Sacramento is Gerald Steinberg, who happens to be the co-chair of the California Homeless Task Force. So the policies and things that are happening here are reflective of his behavior, and it's something that the statewide needs to understand that he's in charge of this. So what sweeps are is when they bring in the police, they will cite people 72-hour notices, and then they will come in and enforce these. The majority of the time, these sweeps are due to businesses, or they enforce these. So where we have issues is that we don't have the resourcing for people to be placed. And so, again, they're just moving people around. This is something with no solutions.
I saw that you were at the river and you said supposedly it's like high health problems, but when I saw that video and I shared it, I was like, what are they talking about? The levee's gonna blow up, the water's gonna blow up. It's like, come on. I say that's politically incorrect. That's what they're.
Right. It is. And so what they've done is, because our county has been more helpful than the city part of Sacramento, but the city has got this very anti homeless rhetoric, and they have constantly put in place things that are anti-homeless. So, for instance, we have at City Hall a sit-lie ordinance where people are not allowed to sit or lie down at City Hall. They have now, since February, implemented what's called our infrastructure ban, which we have 11,000 people on the streets here of Sacramento County. And what that means is it's basically removing people from where they are, where they're sort of left alone. So that's levees, railroads, just the main infrastructure. And so it's a nightmare, because when they're moved from these levees and things, it's pushed in front of businesses and residents, and then the businesses and residents complain, the police come out, and we're basically running circles with no solutions.
Man, my heart goes out to you because I was thinking, I go, man, should I go to Portland 2021 or should I go to Sac? I'm at the point where my town here, I haven't told this to Anthony yet, but you're the first one going to hear it. It just, there's nothing for me here as a business owner. I want to go help you guys more because you guys are having that issue, and I'm very connected to the Capitol, or both are, when it comes to legislation, we got to work on a bill. I was telling Anthony, we got to work on a bill, something for our homeless, because this is getting out of hand on every corner,
Right.
from San Francisco to you and LA and my area. So it just goes through the whole state of California and Santa Cruz, for the issues that are going on in Santa Cruz. It's just not fun.
Right. And so what we're facing here statewide is, in 2010, Obama put out $1.5 billion for homelessness, and it's the No Place Like Home. What happened with that funding is, nationally, people did great things. They built tiny home villages. They came up with solutions, mental health services, the wraparound services. California, their idea was a great idea, but the follow through never happens, and that's where we lose a lot of money and we keep having people in the streets. Their plan was to take old dilapidated buildings, so motels primarily, and they were supposed to rehab these motels. Well, what they ended up doing is getting these motels, tearing these motels down, and that was it. They never built this affordable housing. So last year, when we had, a lot of people know, nationally, we got recognized by the National Law Center on Poverty, due to the fact that we had a massive eviction of over 200 people off of what's called the San Juan Motel lot. Many of the people that were on that lot were original owners of, originally stayed there. It was a trailer park and a motel. Even our union lead out there, she was the manager of the hotel when it was up and running. Of course, that was supposed to be built into housing. Never happened. The people stayed out on the land after they tore it down for 10 years. And how that reflects in what we're doing today is that those people, we told them over and over prior to this eviction that if you disperse these people with no resources, we're going to be dealing with the same thing. We're going to be dealing with death, because you're separating people from community. And since May 1st of 2019, we have lost about 10 people from that camp, violently, not just natural deaths. It's been violent murder, rapes, everything has happened out there. And so this is a statewide issue. And again, this is where we're talking about doing this rehabbing 10 years ago, rehabbing of these motels. If you watch the news lines right now, Sacramento's guilty of this. Sacramento says that they're all excited because we have Project Room Key and we're going to buy these hotels, we're going to update them and renovate them. They're doing the same thing they said years ago.
I don't know. We lost you right now.
And it's not just here in Sacramento, it's LA, San Francisco, these places where the big are. Are you there?
Yeah, it froze right now. Yeah, we're both freezing up.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's like I'm thinking, okay, is everybody on the Wi-Fi right now? We just decided to pop on the Wi-Fi in my hometown.
It might have. It's mine too. So yeah. So what we need to look at realistically here is that we have almost 200,000 people statewide homeless here in California. Um, we are in the with COVID. Our economy right now is falling down because of COVID. People not being able to work. People are losing housing due to evictions. Um, these numbers of homeless are going to increase, and we don't have the realistic housing here in Sacramento. Just because I know the Sacramento numbers here in Sacramento, we're lacking 63,000 units of affordable housing. Our average rent here for a one-bedroom studio is $14.25, and our minimum wage is $14 an hour. So it's like the numbers don't add up. This isn't just an issue of homelessness, being that, we hear the same narrative that it's all homeless people that are junkies. No, we have 11,000 people here on the streets. 700 are kids who are trying to go to school, who can't go to school because we're sheltering in place. There's no place for them to charge their laptops to do school. We have seniors, we have veterans, we have everybody is on the streets right now. And it's, there has to be solutions. There has to be housing and wraparound services, or we're going to continue down this road.
And the reason I brought you on because these politicians, the new politicians that are going to be reelected, that are running for office, this is a topic I'm using, and I'm glad you joined me on this because I could say what I can't say down here because they know what I'm going to say. They're on at the border. My homeless in my region, they're at the border right now because they'd rather go jump to the border, stay over there for a while, and then come back and eat over there cheaper, and then come back and then get their what they got to do this side, and they go back to Mexico. So they're bilingual, and that's the people part that I'm having problems down here on the issues why I don't have that problem. And you have the other issues, which is right around the Capitol. You're right there where the heart of the politicians are strong. Legislators are right in your hometown. They're right there. They're
right. And the thing is, though, with it being here, I get this a lot. People say, well, it's easy for you to run to the Capitol. It isn't. Just like everybody else across the state, we write letters. We try to go to meetings. We do everything that we possibly can. We're not being heard because the narrative for homelessness has always been the same. They say that homeless, and I'm just going to say it because this is what people think, is that homeless are criminals and junkies. That is not the case. And it stems from poverty. Poverty stems from systemic racism. It goes all the way through the system. You know what I mean? And we need to be heard. They come at this with almost an elitist behavior. And the behavior is that they don't understand that people can't, for instance, like get a job. We hear this all day, get a job. Well, if they get a job, then they have to pack the 50 pounds of survival gear with them. They have to take their dogs that they use for protection. They can't shower. They can't wash their clothes. I always turn this around on the community and say, hey, look, would you hire somebody like that? Because these are the realities that these people are facing. It's not that they don't want to do anything. It's not that they can't do anything. There's no resources to get these people off the streets into a situation where they can get up and be a normal functioning society. Well, we have people on the streets too that do work. We have people that are working 2 jobs and still can't afford to live here.
And the governor supposedly when COVID started, the motels, that's a sham. I see it as a sham. And the traders, because the traders he brought down here in my county, they're now used for something else. In our region, I was like, doesn't make sense. The county decided to use those traders for something else. I was like, really?
Right. So our thing with the Project Roomkey is because we've been fighting with absolutely nothing. I mean, we literally have been just butting heads and fighting. And I mean, we've come at this like civilly. We've come at this like again with letter writing. We've come at this trying to be feet on the ground with asking for solutions. The really sad thing about here in Sacramento, and I'm wagering to say this is going to be like San Francisco too, and LA, is that even though we have COVID and it's such a horrible, horrible thing, a pandemic, it took a pandemic for this government to even look into any type of housing for the home.
We froze again.
And again, it is for us. It's been a little bit of a light because it's being able to get a few people off the street, but not even a portion.
Yeah, I was looking at the lands that they were taking out. That's when I reached out to you back in the day, almost a year now. We're going for almost a year that I reached out to you, and and when they did the kicking out there, that place up in South, I think it was South Sac or North Sac, I don't remember that region, and you were protesting out there, and it's just like it's the same old BS. It's just like they're back again doing the same thing what they did in the beginning of the year. They're doing it again, so it doesn't make sense what these politicians are doing up there.
Right, and it doesn't, because here's the thing: is the people that today we were protesting for are the same people that were on that lot a year ago. And so these are the same South Sacramento people. We literally walked 3 blocks from the location they're being displaced from to the lot that now has a $60,000 gate around it. That is just an empty lot that is city county owned, and SHRA, which is our housing of urban and development. They're the umbrella. So again, public property gated off of the $60,000 fence for what? And so now these people are, off in these areas. Well, this plot of land right now that the people are sitting on, this is how bad this is. Here in Sacramento, that plot of land that they're sitting on, that the owner of that land has a problem with them being. The problem is the businesses are complaining. The business complaining code enforcement is now threatening to fine this gentleman, and he files a 602, which is trespassing, to remove them. So here's a place where people are welcome to be, and our city is doing this. They don't have anywhere to go. We've been scrambling for a couple years now. It's like it's frustrating. There is nowhere for people to be. That's the big question. I always say the magic word is go. The businesses want people to go. The residents want people to go. The homeless, where do we go? And that's the thing, is like they don't give us that.
And on that note, because I was talking to the former mayor earlier on the phone, and we're discussing that about the homeless, and I told him, dude, these other ones that are running for campaign went downtown to look at the old buildings, but the buildings are owned by people that don't live in this county. They're out in Phoenix. They're owners of the building, but they don't live here. They're just get their rent money and direct deposit, and they're fine, but they're not living here, and it screws up our own community downtown Main Street. And all Main Street's all boarded up right now because of COVID. But these buildings could be used for something. That's what I was saying. These buildings could be used to put our homeless in there at least, and get the rapid care with our resources that we have already in place. But it's like, yeah, you have to bring
Right.
it to the county and city. I go, yeah, I'm gonna have to write the proposal. That's what I was thinking. Writing the proposal. Say, hey, guess what? Look at this building. Why don't the city take out that building and buy it from the owner and say, we'll own it and we'll fix it up or something. Just put the homeless in there, because it was like 10 buildings in one Main Street right where I'm from. I'm only 5 minutes away from Main Street where I live at. So it's like, really, it just
Right, and that's kind of what we're facing too. So again, Sacramento, they put on a great face. Again, our mayor puts on this great face of, I'm the co-chair of this homeless task force here in the state. It's a great face, and a lot of times that's it. It's talk. It's not. Nothing is happening. It's talk. A lot of money is being thrown at random stuff. The union statewide, prior to before you came on board, we had written out a list of demands, 21 demands, and one of those demands includes an audit. We want a full audit statewide, especially here in Sacramento, because we've been donated a lot of money, $50 million last year, and we couldn't even afford to open a cooling center. And there's a lot of human rights that are being violated here. Whether you're on, whatever side you're of the fence you're on with homelessness, we do have to come to an understanding that, people who have houses and people that do have businesses, they've worked hard for that. And I get that whole situation. It's about building the bridges, though. But as far as the audit goes, and stuff that happens here in Sacramento, the human rights are being violated. Sacramento has a 3-day consecutive order that you have to have. Sorry, give me a second. It has to be 105 degrees for 3 days consecutively before they will even open a cooling center. So what that means is 105 degrees on the asphalt is 140 degrees. So we have people out here sleeping on the asphalt on the ground, no shade because they constantly get moved around, and they won't even open that cooling center. The second part of that is we are burning. California's on fire. we have no access to N95 masks, and we have all these people out here stuck in the smoke, plus this heat wave, plus this pandemic. It's nonstop.
Well, I just thank you. I know you've been busy. You were all busy on different aspects, but that's the reason I brought you on, because this is a big topic I'm putting to these politicians that are running for office. They don't understand what we stand for, and that we don't even that they understand it, because I keep telling them, well, we help the homeless, but we have our criteria where we say, hey, yeah, you want to change your life, we're here to change your life, we're here to help you, but if you don't want to change your life, that's on you. That's the conception. But people don't understand that us union representatives, we work hard on that every other day. I just got a homeless friend of mine just became homeless. She's in a motel right now. Over family, it's a family issue, and she's in her 50s, and it's like tripped me out when I got the call last night. I was like, we don't even have, the shelter said it's a female, and they told her that she's on standby list. I'm like, really? So,
Right.
and
That's how it is here. Our lists are so everything just as a view for somebody who may not understand, and as an advocate out on the streets, um, it's really hard to come up to, like you're saying, a family, somebody with kids, somebody who's a senior and disabled. Um, the resources aren't there. We can't just pick up the phone and say, hey, we want to house somebody, because it doesn't happen that way. Um, so that's our biggest thing, and like you're saying, it's really difficult to be in that role as an advocate, because the narrative we hear is that people choose to be out there. They don't want housing. They don't want resources. They need to get a job. And again, you can't do these things when you're being moved around every 72 hours. You can't do these things when you don't have somewhere safe to be. And so, yeah, for us, California is lacking the resources. We are completely full of police officers trying to do this job. And I can say this as a criminal justice major, it is not the police's job to be criminalizing the unhoused for trying to survive. At the end of the day, police officers have a job, but when they go into being policing, they're not expecting to be social workers and all these other things that they're having to do right now. And
we're the
so,
social workers.
huh?
I say we're the social workers behind all that.
Pretty much, yeah. It takes a different level. Like, they criminalize the unhoused for tying ropes to trees, loitering, trespassing, things like that. But it's like, I keep telling our officials, it's cheaper to come up with solutions than for people to be homeless. And they don't understand that. And a lot of our money and a lot of our funding here in Sacramento, we've tracked down, a lot of it goes to what they call homeless services. So that sounds great to the common person. Homeless services means sweeps. People don't understand that. That means for police officers to sit there and watch garbage trucks come and take everybody's survival gear, and then we have to replace it all. They don't store it. They don't do anything. It goes to the dump.
Yeah,
And we're dealing with this constantly.
I gotta end my side because I just got a remark, but it's a local politician saying that something about my area. They're doing census, and I know about that already. Just haven't. I got a busy schedule. I just had to shut down one side of my system because I'm gonna keep this one on, and yeah, I'm getting bombarded on my other system. So yeah, I mean, it just yeah, and I'm glad you said that because people need to hear that. My area, the politicians are part of SCAG, which you invaded. I'll never forget that day I heard about it. You guys invaded SCAG. SCAG is a big thing down here with the politicians. But when you guys did that protest, and then when Anthony tells me about it, I'm like, wish there was pictures about it because I know my politicians were there that day. You guys opened there at the Capitol. You guys just invaded that place.
Right. So there's videos around of all this stuff, but it's at the end of the day, it's people always tell me that I'm for the homeless and anti everything else. I am a resident. I'm a mother. I'm a college student. I work full time. I do the homeless outreach. It is perception, and the thing is we need to get on a common ground and understand that the homeless people aren't the issue. It's homelessness in general. Homelessness is their problem. Homelessness floods into in front of their businesses, in their neighborhoods. And until we can get that narrative and start working like next door apps, which a lot of the people are very anti-homeless, the Crime Watch, groups that are all over Facebook, I go back and forth with them. And at the end of the day, like recently, I can, tell about one of the things that happened. There was a lady who got upset because there was people on the trail in Citrus Heights. So I get on there and I said, what's her location, blah, blah, blah. They start, yelling at me, calling me an enabler and, every name in the book, which is fine. But instead of, engaging this negative behavior, or, trying to justify it, I asked where they were. I went down and was able to get 2 of those people in Project Room Key. I turned around and went back to that same site and was like, look, this is what we did. If you guys have any further issues with your homeless community, please reach out. All of a sudden, I'm no longer the enabler. Now I'm the friend of the page,
Yeah,
but
that's what we do. They don't understand that we're the negotiators. We're the ones that are like, yeah.
right.
It just what trips me out is that these politicians that are running for office need to know it takes a lot of work what we do behind the scenes. They don't understand. They say, "Oh yeah, they're all out there crackheads." They're not crackheads, you guys. You guys understand? They're not all what you're thinking. And I just got a continuous care right now. Email just popped up. Continuous care, my local region, popped up. Now they're inviting me to the meetings, which I told Anthony one day. He finally decided, yeah, it's starting to, yeah. I'm telling you,
I think it's a huge like narrative shift. And the thing is for far too long, people have associated again homelessness as that that old scraggly guy that jumped the rail trains and then he comes and robs people. Like it's an old school narrative that people base it off of. And the fact is any of us could be homeless. Here in California, perfect example. Look at all of the fires. Like it can take one natural disaster to take everything you own, everything you love. It can take family, whatever. One medical bill. We see it all day long. We see people, patients being dumped, seniors, because they've been in the hospital 2-3 months, some major surgery or whatever. They've lost their housing and now they don't make the 2.5 times the rent to get back into wherever they need to live. So they're out in the camps. You see it all day long. It's like any one of us could be one paycheck away. We take for granted a lot of times when we are housed, what we have, but at the same time, it's like we shouldn't be judgmental based on the word homeless. And we see this all day too. We see people won't rent to people because they've been homeless, or they won't give you a job because you're homeless. It's like, well, we're trying to get on that same page with everybody else. And so for our politicians, though, the politicians need to understand that adding policies that or ordinances or bans or whatever isn't solution based. And until people start thinking solutions, it's not going to, we're going to continue in this cycle and it's going to continue to get worse.
and I see it getting worse because I just had, I said, my personal friend, and it's like, and I said, man, what is going on in your family? Even though she's family thing, but it just trips me out how this is all going about. And then there's the mom don't work, Social Security. Okay, Social Security is what you get here amount. You get your stamps, because she was talking about her stamps today. She was like, well, I want to get so much of stamps, but I'm not going to get this re-stamp not to another 3 months. The county's going to rebuttal me on my percentage. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But she gave me the timeline. I'm like, that's going to be a while. So yeah, it irritates me that it's happening worse and worse. Like we planned it, like we discussed it in our meetings. It's getting worse. And the people don't see it like that.
They don't see it until it affects them, and
yeah.
that's a glass half empty, half full scenario. And the thing is we can sit here. I tell this to people again all day. I tell people we can sit here and we can complain about it, or we can sit here, express our concerns, and we can come up with solutions around it. You don't like needles in your neighborhood and in your parks, and hey, guess what? You guys need to understand that drug abuse is happening. Put out harm reduction, biohazard things. You don't like the trash? Well, if there's no trash cans anywhere in the city, what do you expect? Like, you know what I mean? It's common. You don't want to see feces on the ground. Then why do we not have porta potties? Why are we not having our park restrooms open? Why are we doing this? You know what I mean? The only time that people seem to, and that's unacceptable. We shouldn't, wait to hear a homeless man died because he froze to death, or he, was dehydrated, and, you know, passed away. And then all of a sudden this community cares, but it's forgotten the next day. And that's, to me, it's, we have to come up with solutions, and we need to come up with solutions. This isn't Sacramento. We need to come up with solutions statewide. This state is in a mess right now. And if we don't do this, then, you know, what good are we? I mean, we are, you know, our in-house people pay taxes as well. And, you know, they do register to vote. The homeless union back in the day fought for that cross street so people could vote. You know, it's not okay to treat people like this. You wouldn't want to be treated like this. Don't treat people like this.
Yeah, I'm getting comments already by emails like, "What's going on?" Oh, well, of course, that's what the topic is about, homeless. I just
Right.
hit a nerve to my local politician rep right now. She just sent me an email. I'm like, yeah, she's seen us. She knows that I ain't playing around. So my
Right.
politicians reps are listening from Sacramento down here. Well,
Right, and that's good. And the thing is my words of advice to politicians or anybody who is a leader locally, you know, statewide, whoever you are, my advice to you is be the person to stand up and see past the thin narrative and look at the thick narrative. You want to solve the homeless crisis, it's going to take not just the homeless, it's not taking just placing people, it takes the entire community. We need the residents and businesses to be happy, and we need our in-house community to be safe. And that's the whole picture. You know, a lot of advocates will come at it, you know, one-sided. Well, the resident shouldn't be like this. No, anybody who has worked hard for something understands that you don't want somebody living in your front yard when you just purchased a house with your family. We get it, dude. I get it. You know what I mean? But a lot of people don't. And as long as the politicians continue to feed into this rhetoric, though, of anti-homelessness, nothing's going to change. You can throw money at this all day long. It's not going to change.
yeah, and like you hit it on the nail. It's true that it's location, the safeness where they're at. It's the bathrooms. It's the sanitation. It's the food and the health, and it's like putting them in one location. But are they going to be taken care of to work on their second phase, which is the second phase independently, and then the third phase more independently? That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Because it took me 6 months, almost took me a year to get used to being at home.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm with family, okay, people understand. Okay, I'm with family, but it's time for me to get my tiny house and move on. That's what I'm doing in 2021. I'm my tiny house, build it up. See y'all later. I'll be in another state, but I'll be in contact with California, and that's my plan right now. I'm putting my tiny house in Sacramento with you guys. It's cooler
Right.
place. Cooler. One is cooler city to me. It's cooler than where I'm at right now. It's 105 right now where I'm at. So
Yeah, it's hot. Yeah, I think too something that that's important to point out is that homelessness affects everything. So it isn't, again, just the businesses and the residents and the people. It's infecting our environment. Between the trash and the sanitation and you know, our community, our air. There's so many things that are being affected by homelessness, and there's so many ways that we could reach solutions besides just the funding of the politicians. When you look into an encampment, there's multiple issues within these encampments. So we have, you know, our community throws money, you know, donation money at mental health services, domestic violence for our veterans. Like, if they were to fund this money and to, you know, do this right and actually give the services to those people that are in need, we could remove people from these camps. If, like, for instance, if we had a domestic violence, somebody who escaped domestic violence is out on the streets. We have these domestic violence groups that have been, you know, funded. Why are we not, you know, pulling that domestic violence survivor off the streets? Or veterans, you know, our veterans signed a blank check for our freedom, and it's, to me, absolutely asinine that they're out there on the streets. You know, it's like, why do we have all these veteran funding, but the services for veterans is crap? I mean, literally, the medical, you know, end of it, you know, all of it. And so, again, almost anything that is an issue you can attach to homelessness. You know, from rehabilitation to, you know, and I'm not talking about just like drug rehabilitation in period. It causes a lot of different detrimental issues when you're on the streets, including PTSD and trauma. People getting raped and beaten up, and, you know, it everything is connected. So many ways that we could fund this. There's so many ways that we should be protecting as a community and society. Those are our most vulnerable. We should be protecting them. And until we do that, you know, I did literally feel like I just chased my tail in circles all day long, because I feel like I see this, but it's like, why aren't the politicians seeing this? Why aren't they getting it? And you know, if they really wanted to end homelessness, they would. Part of my view is that homelessness makes money. It funds our criminalization system. It funds a lot of different systems. So I don't. We use the word poverty pimp here, and that's kind of what it is. It, you know, I don't think homelessness will end because it's a way to make money, and you know, it's sad. It makes you want to call out these politicians that are saying, you know, we want to end homelessness. It's like, do you really want to end homelessness? Because it's really not that hard if you really wanted to end it.
They
You know,
seem
there's
okay.
there
Most
are
fun
those.
people here.
Huh?
Domestic fun, well, money here. Domestic kids, money right there. Funded right there.
Right,
HUD, you're on the list. You're
right.
homeless. So I know what you're saying when it comes to the money funnel, and I know what that's the economic parts, which people don't
Where's
get.
the money going?
Yeah, it's going to that one. Okay, they got SSI. Let's take their SSI and work
Yeah.
with them. Let's negotiate. It's like,
Well, our government money too. Like I said, we want an audit, because at this point we're seeing money funneled in to so many things, like funneled into housing, but we have no housing. Like that, it makes no sense. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it is like no common sense to know that something's going on. Here in Sacramento, we see a lot of money being thrown at our SHRA, which is our housing development agency or whatever. Um, you know, when you have employees making over $100,000 a year that are answering phones, yet are going to city council, and your city leaders are even saying like, well, you keep coming up with the same ideas. It's time to call it out. You know what I mean? It is what it is. People are taking money and they are not doing what they need to be doing with it. So
Well, I'm at the hour now, so I just want to thank you for this time. I mean, this is going to be shared on YouTube, and then YouTube is going to go through on my Facebook, because these politicians, I'm going to send it out to all these politicians that are running for office individually, because they're not touching this topic. I did an interview earlier, and the person ignored the topic. And then the other person I interviewed, same thing. I'm like, really? You gotta listen to both of us. She's in Sacramento. I'm in Pearl County. I'm way south of California, and she's up there, and that's why I put you on the spot on this, because I just needed to get this out of my agenda, because I'm talking to these politicians. They don't know what's going on in Sacramento. They think they know what's going on, but they're reading the false news, the false
right.
fake news. I call it the fake news in your region, because a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that's not out there. You guys are first ground. You're on first ground. You're the news for me. You're
Right.
out there. That news that I shared earlier, that question out of people, it triggered down here where I'm from. It triggered them, and I know what I did. And they're like, "Oh crap, this is going over there. What about what's going on?" So it makes people understand that we ain't playing around as advocates. You know.
Right. I think the last thing that I would want to say that is, if the politicians are really interested in ending homelessness, to reach out to the California Homeless Union statewide organizing council. Just like myself, we have leaders in different areas who are on the ground. And if you really want to know what's going on, you want to come visit the camps, you want to see what it's really about. People in the camps don't know who you are. Come with us. We will take you, and you can see firsthand, but also work with us, because we have a lot of years into this. And our type of research and our type of understanding is a lot more effective than numbers, because people aren't numbers.
And that's what pisses me off. They see them as numbers, because somebody just threw me the census thing on the comment, but I had to take that off. But it's still on there. But it just, this politician saw what we were talking about. He's running for elected office for ID, which is the water industry. He's trying to run for that as a board, but they don't see it either way. As a board member, don't see it because they don't live it. They don't breathe it. I mean, I had to breathe it myself. I had to be there for 6 months, and it wasn't funny. I mean, it wasn't happy. I was always sheltered. Get out of there by 6 on the street. If you're working, you're not working, and that's where it just my I'll say my anxiety just popped up, just like boom, you
Yeah,
know.
it's like, how do you fix that? You can't get better that way. You can't get better when you don't have a place to be. You just can't. Like, and at the same end of that, the navigators and people that are out supposing to do all this, they can't stay in contact with you when you're moved all over the place. They can't. It's just a endless cycle.
Yeah, you're up at 6. They get you up out of the shelter at 6, and you're like, and you know what they say. You got to come back at 4 or 5
Mhm.
to get your bed again, your number, like a number, and then you. Okay, Raul, I'm getting comments, but yeah, what I'm saying is that the people are figuring it out that it ain't like what it is up there, the shelters or the campsite. They don't see it. And that's why I'm asking them, go visit you. My is thing from my region to go visit you so they can know what I'm talking about. Because I was there for 6 months, but I was at the Capitol as a journalist. But till I finally picked it over being as a journalist, I saw within the Capitol. I saw around the Capitol. I saw the homeless out there. I talked to them. I tried to interview one, but he didn't take the interview. But this was 2017, 2018, and
Right,
and now it's getting worse since
right.
20.
And it affects everybody. That's the big thing is homelessness, whether you want it to or not, affects all of us.
It does, and I'm glad these politicians are gonna be listening to both of us because they're gonna. This is how it is, This is serious. You know.
Right.
Thanks, um, Crystal, and for taking the time. And we got things, and thank you for the time. And I know you're busy too up there in Sac with your kids.
For sure.
You're
Yep,
busy, Mama.
I am.
So yeah,
All right. Well, thank you.
thank you. And I just I'm just that's it. I'm glad this is happening. So, let everybody know who we are, what we do. Um, North end of California to the south end of California. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you and talk to you later.
All right. Bye.